He was dying on camera, and nobody knew it was real. In January of 1976, John Wayne stepped onto a Carson City, Nevada movie set to play a dying gunfighter in what would become his final movie. But what almost nobody knew, what the cameras couldn't capture, was that Wayne was fighting a battle far more intense than any shootout he'd ever staged. The Shootist tells the story of J.B. Brooks, an aging gunslinger who learns he has terminal cancer and chooses to die on his own terms. The eerie thing? 12 years earlier, John Wayne had heard those same words from his own doctor. "You have cancer." And what happened on that set in Nevada, the struggles, the confrontations, and the quiet moments of grace, would transform a Western into something far more profound. This is the untold story of how a dying art form gave birth to cinema's most poignant farewell. Let's start with the brutal truth about John Wayne's physical condition when filming began. After his 1964 cancer surgery, Wayne had lost his entire left lung and several ribs. By 1976, he was a cancer survivor, technically in remission, but his body was a shell of what it once was. Carson City sits at 4,600 feet above sea level. For a man with half his lung capacity, every breath at that altitude was a battle. Production designer Robert Boyle later recalled watching Wayne struggle to walk from his trailer to the set. The famous shots of J.B. Brooks riding into town, they had to shoot them in short bursts because Wayne couldn't sustain the physical exertion. Then, 3 weeks into filming, disaster struck. Wayne contracted influenza. Production shut down completely. Wayne was hospitalized for 2 weeks. His doctor seriously considered forbidding him from finishing the film. But here's where you see the steel in John Wayne's spine. He came back, weakened, exhausted, but determined to finish what he started. Because Wayne knew something the studio didn't fully grasp yet. But if you think Wayne's health was the biggest challenge on set, you haven't heard about the war brewing between him and director Don Siegel. Don Siegel was the man who created Dirty Harry, a director who revolutionized the urban vigilante genre with gritty, modern sensibilities. Wayne? He'd been trained by John Ford, a legend who believed in one good take and moving on. Ford's method was instinct and economy. Siegel came from television, where you shot from multiple angles and numerous takes to get coverage. According to author Glendon Swarthout, who wrote the original novel, Siegel had a short man's complex and was a bit of a martinet. Ron Howard, who played Gillum Rogers in the film and watched it all unfold, recalled that Wayne had numerous flare-ups with Siegel throughout production. The biggest explosion came during a barn scene. Wayne looked down and saw where Siegel had placed the camera, sitting in a bale of hay, pointing straight up at him from below. Wayne's training under Ford kicked in. This angle made him look weak, diminished, shot from the ground looking up. After 50 years of commanding the screen, it was an insult to everything he knew about cinema. The argument that followed could be heard across the set. But here's the thing you need to understand. The most devastating moment of the entire production had nothing to do with Wayne and Siegel's battles. It involved James Stewart. Stewart hadn't made a film in 5 years. He agreed to play Dr. Hostedler, the physician who delivers Brooks' cancer diagnosis, as a personal favor to Wayne. The two had last worked together 15 years earlier on The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. In the film, Stewart's character even mentions it's been 15 years since he last saw Brooks, a deliberate inside joke. But Stewart was 68 years old and suffering from severe hearing loss. The cavernous sound stages at Warner Brothers made it exponentially worse. Take after take, Stewart couldn't hear his cues. This threw off Wayne's timing. Both legends, two of Hollywood's greatest actors, kept flubbing their lines. Finally, Don Siegel snapped. He accused them both of not trying hard enough. Wayne's response has become legendary. Using one of John Ford's famous lines, Wayne looked Siegel dead in the eye and said, If you'd like the scene done better, you'd better get yourself a couple of better actors. When you watch the final scene in the film, when Dr. Hostetler tells Books he has cancer, knowing what was happening behind the camera adds an almost unbearable weight. Later, Wayne told friends that Stewart had known his lines perfectly. He just couldn't hear his cues. And Wayne, equally exhausted, had fumbled in response. But Wayne wasn't just fighting to finish this film. He was fighting to control its very soul. Here's what you don't know about Wayne's contract for the Shootist. He had complete script approval, and he used it to change the ending fundamentally. In Glendon Swarthout's novel and the original screenplay, J.B. Books kills his final opponent by shooting him in the back. John Wayne refused to do it. Wayne looked at the writers and said, "I've made over 250 pictures, and I've never shot a guy in the back. I'm not doing it now." Even after filming wrapped, when Wayne saw the edited final shootout and noticed a shot that appeared to show him shooting someone from behind, he demanded they change it. They did. Wayne also changed other crucial elements. He moved the location from El Paso to Carson City. He insisted the bartender, not young Gillam, deliver the fatal shot. Because as Wayne put it, no one could ever take John Wayne in a fair fight. He toned down the profanity. He softened the explicit references to cancer. He even negotiated script changes to mention his real-life horse, Dollar, by name several times. But Wayne did something else that transformed The Shootist into something more than just a film. The opening of The Shootist doesn't start with new footage. It starts with John Wayne's past. For the first few minutes, we watch archival clips from Red River, Hondo, Rio Bravo, and El Dorado. Wayne in his prime, young, powerful, indestructible. These clips serve as J.B. Books' backstory, showing his legendary gunfights from years past. Then, we cut to 1976, to an aging, weathered John Wayne riding slowly into Carson City. The contrast is shattering. This isn't just J.B. Books' age. This is John Wayne, the icon himself, confronting time. Wayne surrounded himself with friends for this final ride. Lauren Bacall, whom he'd worked with 21 years earlier on Blood Alley. Richard Boone. John Carradine, who'd appeared with him in Stagecoach, the film that made Wayne a star in 1939. Even Scatman Crothers, who plays Moses the blacksmith, brings an unexpected warmth to the film. Their haggling scene over the price of Books' horse is a quiet masterpiece. And then there's the moment nobody talks about. There's a scene late in The Shootist where J.B. Books slips in the bathtub. It happens mostly off camera, but Lauren Bacall sweeps in, wraps him in a robe, and helps him to bed with such tenderness that it transcends the script. For a man as proud as John Wayne, whose entire career was built on being invincible, this moment of complete vulnerability is stunning. When you know what Wayne was going through physically, this scene becomes almost unwatchable in its honesty. You're not watching acting anymore. You're watching a man confronting his mortality. And 3 years later. In 1979, John Wayne's cancer returned. It had metastasized to his stomach, intestines, and spine. He died that June, 3 years after The Shootist wrapped. But here's what makes the ending of The Shootist so profound. It's not about the shootout. It's about what happens after. Young Gillam Rogers picks up Books' gun and kills the bartender who shot Books in the back. Then, disgusted by what violence has made him do, Gillam throws the gun across the room. Books smile. He's dying, but he's at peace, because the cycle of violence ends with him. After the film was released, Wayne used footage from The Shootist, the scene where he learns he has cancer, in a public service announcement for the American Cancer Society. In it, Wayne looked directly into the camera and said he'd played that scene in real life 12 years earlier. He was telling America, "I beat it once, you can too." The Shootist earned an Oscar nomination for Best Art Direction. Lauren Bacall received a BAFTA nomination. Roger Ebert named it one of the 10 best films of 1976. But its true legacy isn't in the awards. It's in what it represents. The Shootist is about an aging gunfighter choosing dignity over desperation, choosing to control his final act rather than fade away in a hospital bed. John Wayne, Marion Morrison, knew he was saying goodbye to the only world he'd ever known. The Western was dying. His body was failing. But he refused to go quietly. Every time you watch The Shootist now, you're not just watching a movie. You're watching a man craft his own eulogy, control his own legend, and choose exactly how he wanted to be remembered. That wasn't just Books' code. That was John Wayne's code. And he lived it and died by it to the very end. Now I want to hear from you. What's another classic Hollywood star who deserved a better final film? Gregory Peck in Old Gringo? Katharine Hepburn in Love Affair? Drop your pick in the comments, because there's a whole series here about Hollywood's final acts, and your voice matters. If this made you see The Shootist differently, if you're going to watch it again with new eyes, hit that like button and subscribe. Because we're diving deep into the golden era, one untold story at a time.